What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, and 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And I host the only online show in the world that is for dads and fathers, that is sponsored by Dove Men Care, co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And I am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, drink, and travel. And to my right, left, whatever, Mr. Green in his corporate colors.
Yes, sir.
I was so used to I was expecting the baseball shirt, but hey, that's another thing. Your Blue Jays are on fire right now.
Hey, keep it rolling through to the finish line. You run through the finish line. I don't want this to be just spark.
Here we go. So Ryan Knight, what's going on, Ryan?
No, things are good. Always a pleasure to get to chat with you. We missed Monday, holiday, family, all the mix.
Yeah, but Monday was great. We were able to run our first replay.
Excellent.
We did a replay. So I put in the post, we're taking the day off, but we're still here. I put that in the front line of the post description.
Don't know about Corporate Green. I run a company called Detail Ignites. So we do mobile waterless car cleaning. We have a couple students that are working with us in the second phase of our youth entrepreneurship program. So super excited about that. This weekend is in the field training day, which is my favorite because we get to show how our waterless car cleaning products work. And you always get the disbelief and then the complete buy-in because it's better than using regular water to wash your car. And some might know I'm one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. We work with entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage to figure out what stage they're in today and then what their goals are and help them create a blueprint to get to that goal and also try to inspire them to exponentially grow their companies. We want to see more IPOs, more businesses on the stock exchange. So that I feel is like a personal goal of mine. I know my team is like, what does that even look like? And that's the question. Like, what does it look like?
You know what's interesting? I wonder if they do this. I know that when a company gets listed for the first time or many times, when a company gets first listed on the New York Stock Exchange, they have representatives of the company on a certain day open up the stock exchange.
Yeah.
Did they do that? Did they do that for the Toronto Stock Exchange?
They do. You're able to go down to downtown Toronto.
So wouldn't it be nice
press the button?
So the question is, when was the last time a Black company?
Oh dear. I really want to look that up.
Yeah, just in my alleged mind, I'm going, when was the last time a Black company opened up the stock market day?
Because I remember 2 times. One, I was there as a part of a Mars Discovery District cohort. That was like 2013, I think. And then also one of our guests, Andrew Brownfield, I believe he was there to do it. I'm not sure in what capacity. I know he works with a lot of different companies, but I'd love to reach out to him and see why he was able to go and open it. But then also, I need to do that research to find out what was the last Black. I wonder if they'll know if we just ask them. It's like, hey, TSX, who was the last Black company to come in, open up?
They should have a media department. Would be an interesting question. So either you will pursue that or I'll pursue that. But I brought up the question so you can do the legwork. So that was, but no,
I get the answer faster.
Yeah, so that is interesting. Another question that came up. So, as always, we're here. Most of the time we're broadcasting live on Monday and Friday mornings around 9 a.m. Eastern time, give or take a bit. And as I said, last Monday we took the day off physically, but we digitally was still with you. Ran a replay, but we are back live, racing towards the finish line of 2021. But Ryan and I really haven't even communicated with each other for it's about a week, and there has been so much going on politically, socially, all these different things. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start about
I have to know if you watched that debate yesterday.
No.
And it was like the French one before, and then yesterday was the English.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm watching the thing and I'm trying to figure out, when do we actually get information? Like things that can be done. And it's interesting because when a party's not in power, everything that they say is speculative. Like
Yep.
it's only, hey, if this, if that, if we get in. But when Trudeau talks, it's actual, okay, those are things that he could execute. And there was a great question asked about the Indigenous supports and how the Truth and Reconciliation. And so the question was asking, why is there so much bureaucracy and why does it take so long to get things done? And then his answer was, oh, we got it, like we started and got it done. But I was like, you didn't answer the question. We know that you put money there, but why does it take so long? And why does it take finding dead bodies to actually get the money out the door? And so that's where the spin, I feel like, because I don't watch a lot of politics, when you get to see them on the main stage and doing the spin, it's like watching theater. You're like, oh, that was a good question. How's he gonna get out of that? And they're just like, whoop, and they can get, they never miss a beat. It's like they're trained to just, what do they call it? Somebody told me they call it like block and bridge. So whatever question comes, it's like you block it and you bridge to your talking points. I was like, these people, it's like they're not designed to actually answer any question. They're just designed to get through the interview without like putting their foot in their mouth. So I don't know how people stomach it.
You know, I haven't. It's really interesting what's going on in regards to this election, because obviously you have the group of protesters that are following the prime minister all around, that are blocking him for getting his message across. But then I guess they took it to another level. When at one reception they were throwing stones at him, the media, and all that. If there's a great investigative journalist, I'd love to know who is funding that group.
Or are they like literally the people starting encampments and have no job and can just do this full time? Because they must be like creating a livelihood somehow. Like, and it can't be from.
I saw a brief, and I just read it high level briefs headline in the Toronto Star, that one of the key people behind it is a non-melanated lady from Newmarket. But I didn't get deep into the story, but I think that it's really interesting, this election. Again, just out of these debates, now I've watched them, were any questions asked about Black Canadians?
I did not see one.
Okay.
Not one.
Well, I'm glad that at least the Indigenous population had some representation, but it's going to be very.
And again, I didn't watch the whole thing, so just to preface that. But the other interesting thing, a debate came up about who should be at these debates. And I'll say listening to Anna Marie Paul was enlightening. She like knows her stuff and was on point. But the question was, okay, she doesn't have enough candidates in the Green Party across Canada to win and actually lead the country. Should she even be at the debate? Same thing with the gentleman from the Bloc. He is only representing Quebec. He has no interest. He actually said it. I can't believe he said it at the debate. He's like, yo, I have no interest in running Canada. I only want to deal with Quebec. So if you're not going to run the country, why are you at these debates about how to lead the country? You know, like, give it space. And because of the format, it's like there's 5 people trying to, it just becomes like a meme show. It's like Twitter. Everything is just a tweet. It's like, okay, we're going to go do this. And everybody only has like a minute and a half to talk. You can't really get into any substance.
From what I read, and the most animated debate was actually the first debate, which was a French debate. That was when they had it open for that first one. The 2 that were held this week were more controlled. They really couldn't be at each other. It was basically answer question. Whereas the first debate was very animated, etc. Let me ask you: do you feel Black Canadians are going to vote?
I think who used to vote will vote. I don't see there any incentive for people that haven't voted before to vote. And actually the opposite, they're like even more against, because it's interesting to see a lot of the friends I have that don't vote also are like against vaccinations. So now they're even pushing harder to say like, hey, this is why I don't vote, because everybody's against us, or vote for none of the key parties. Like, so I guess PPC or any of the other ones that are kind of new and upcoming. They would say like, yeah, don't vote for the main guys, vote for something new. I'm starting to see that trend. So I'm curious, but that's where, like, if our power is in the vote and you give it away, what are you really accomplishing? Because your sounding board doesn't do anything. Like, sure, it's nice to hear your opinion, but if you actually enacted your right and voted, you might. And again, getting that one seat, it starts there. And now the Green Party, I think did they get up to like 2 or 3 seats at one point?
I believe so.
But it's progress, right? You know that, hey, it's not going to happen overnight. But if you don't vote, nothing will change at all. So it's interesting when people take that stance.
It's interesting. If you don't vote and you don't have any economic power, what do you got?
Well, and that's where, because if you don't have the economic power, you'll see, and it was funny, it flashed in my mind, I wonder if there would ever be a corporate party where like CEOs or ex-business people.
They already have that, man. They already have that.
That's exactly why I caught myself. And I was like, but as a CEO, I call my representative and ask for what I need, and I can put together a lobby group and go to get influence. So I don't need to run for politics. That's what I realized, that corporate doesn't need to actually be the person in the chair. They influence the person in the chair. So that's what, like what you're saying, if you're not going to vote, then you best for sure build up your economic strength.
Yep.
Otherwise, you have literally no power. Mm-hmm. And so don't tell me not to vote, and you're not showing me how to empower ourselves through economics. But I'm not seeing that. So the fact that you mentioned it is really key, because we should be saying that more.
If the election was held right now, what is your prediction if you have one?
I'm predicting the Conservatives minority. Actually, so my wild card is the Conservative majority. I think calling the election right now was a big misstep. It did nothing to improve the current I'd say I want to say stereotype, but it's not the stereotype, like the current image of the prime minister. Justin Trudeau, I feel like he's used all of his political credits. Like everything up to this point is on the table. And then he started getting some bazookas, like Afghanistan's happening, protesting is happening. You have to decide, if vaccination is going to be mandatory, is happening. Schools starting back. Extracurricular activities are taken away from kids. Like everything is happening and nothing adds to his brand. Like all of this, if it does anything, it reduces it. So that constant barrage, and then you see the debate yesterday where O'Toole started, he looked real crisp. I don't know if anybody else got that feeling too. He looked on point, more so than I thought like he was gonna look. I was like, oh no. So anything O'Toole does is either, if you already like him, you're going to vote for him. And now he's like swaying those people on the fence that the Trudeau smile isn't working for them anymore. And they're like, I need to actually see where this country is going. And I'm willing to shift my vote and go in a different direction. So I think calling the election is going to backfire.
Yeah, I when it was called, I had my concerns. Obviously, remember, we go back a few episodes when I got that email.
Right, way
before their election was called, and going, you know, what did you know, it certainly a little bit of a gaffe. Now the question is, if the Conservatives get a minority, will the NDP stick with them? Or also that where it also comes to play is the Bloc.
Yeah, and they really I think that was a wild card that Trudeau was not planning on. The bloc in Quebec getting so many seats. I think it was around 30 or so seats.
Because I can see the bloc swinging more to the Conservatives than the Liberals.
And look at that too. So Quebec,
I think I don't know enough,
away.
but I just have a feeling. But again, Quebec is so liberal based. But again, it's really, and if the Conservatives form the next government, what is the future of the Prime Minister Trudeau? Will be former Prime Minister Trudeau.
Well, that's where I'm feeling like the credits are used up. It's like, how would he be able to build back to say, hey, you trusted me for 2 terms and then you didn't trust me to be the prime minister, and he'd have to win it back? That to me seems like a real tall order. I feel like they'd go in a different direction. Is
this election a potential white backlash?
No, I wouldn't say that. Like how the backlash that happened in the South with...
No, in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, I don't see it as a white backlash. Yeah, I wouldn't, because I don't think there was anything of... there wasn't anything of significance that happened in the Black community where people that wanted to kind of reverse course and they're like, no, you see, we went too far supporting Indigenous or supporting the Black community, that it kind of swings back. I'm not seeing
what you're
that
saying
happening.
Is people are just tired of Trudeau.
That's my that's my I think the credits are used up. All the charm and the great speeches, you're not even able to use that political power right now. The rallies are gone, so you have to work with what you got, and right now is diminishing. And then I try to think, how do you get it back? And all those things that I was mentioning, the bazookas that are being fired at him, are things outside of his control, except for the vaccinations. But things that are happening overseas and things that are happening with going back to school, all these things, it will take something, I think, out of his control that would sway people back to him. And I can't really brainstorm on what that would be. And in the States, I would always think they always start a war in order to gain favor. So what could Trudeau do, or what could happen in the environment within the next, just over 10 days? Yeah. In the next 10 days, what could happen that would make Canadians fall back in love with Trudeau? Daycare, I don't think is doing it. The Black entrepreneurship program, I feel like is going to get them the same votes that they got last time. So what could they come up with to actually sway the votes? Okay.
Miss Alethea, thank you so much for stopping by. Yeah. She's single, and Alethea is now coming after us because she now has a show on Rogers.
What? Excellent. I didn't know Rogers still does shows.
She's in the market to take us down, Ryan. I'm telling you, she's in the market to take us down. But she did send me a link. She is so, Alethea, if you can share some of the information on your show that's going to take over ours in the chat, would love to know. I know she sent me a link via WhatsApp, which I hardly use, going to be totally honest, and I saw a bit of it over the last few days. So looks like it's an excellent commentary, excellent stuff. And I think the guests that she highlighted, Alethea, there's room for all of us. Yes, but we're at the back of the room now. You're at the front of the room, so there's room. We're now at the back,
Yes.
She had Deputy Mayor Steve Anderson on, I believe, of Shelburne on a program. Yeah. So for those who are watching live on the replay, we've chatted a little bit about the upcoming Canadian election. So show alert. This Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, I'll be hosting a pre-election conversation. Asterisk, there'll be no politicians on.
I got to tune into this.
Right? No politicians on. And I know one of the people I do have hosting with me is Louis Marsh from the Zero Gun Violence Movement.
Excellent.
If anyone would be interested in being a guest on that event, please contact me via Facebook, email, social media, and we're just going to open it up. because there are, and no bad word, there are a number of platforms hosting conversations with politicians. There's one going on tonight. There's one going on Sunday evening. And I have nothing against it, but I want to hear from the people, right? You get enough political,
Yes.
you get all this political spin. I want to hear you like coach questions like, are you going to vote?
Absolutely. And if not, or if you are, well, I would say if not, what would get you to vote? Like what is keeping you from voting? And I know when I usually ask that question, it's, oh, I feel like my vote is not worth anything, or it's a wasted vote. So, and then, asking people deeper into that, like, why do you think it's wasted? I would love to just learn more.
Yeah, even though I'm not a politician, I'll be asking those deep questions that I feel politicians should be asking, your opinion on things, right?
And this is the thing with hearing politicians talk. You can get all their talking points on their website. And the last show that we had, we did our Google searching. So whatever their talking points are, we know that already. And that's why I don't like the questions that these in the debates that they ask, because they ask the question in a way that they can just talk or say their talking points. What they should be asking is, hey, I saw on your website that your platform says X on this issue. And then give them a reason that either it'll work or not work, and get them to defend their platform. When they just give them time to talk about what they're going to do, that's 1 minute and 30 seconds wasted. Like, we already could read that on your website. Go deeper into why is that their platform? Why is that going to be better than the other person's platform? And how are you actually going to execute it? Because nobody on those stages talks about how much any of these programs are going to cost. They're just like, oh, we're going to create a 1.5 billion homes, a million homes. No, 1.5 million homes and affordable housing.
Yeah, well, it's interesting when I hear that, I think of you automatically, because I know how passionate you are about homes.
Yeah, right? And that's where there already is billions of dollars put aside for affordable housing. Saying that you're going to create affordable housing, we already know that. Like, we already know whether it's 500,000 from Jagmeet Singh, 1 million from O'Toole, or 1.5 million from Trudeau. You've already committed to that. There's like $56 billion in CMHC. So the question is, you said you're going to create all this affordable housing. There's already money in that program. Why are those funds not actually getting housing built? And there was something that O'Toole said that was interesting on one of his announcements, is that unlocking the federal lands, like unlocking places that we're not building to get them built on. And also actually finding developers that understand what affordable housing actually means. When I talk to different developers that are working on some of these big projects around the city, their concept of affordable housing is, there's like a spectrum of affordable housing, because a person that is on a certain set income, their affordable housing is different than a single mother that works as a nurse and is making $90,000. Affordable housing to her is different. So now just using that word blanket doesn't actually get us anywhere. And that's where, like, my mentor Errol Gibbs, that's been on the show a couple of times, always talks about mother statements. And it sounds nice. Yeah, we're gonna build 1 million homes, but where are you gonna build those million? If you're building them in Newmarket, that is different than building them in Bruce County. So, like, show us actually how this is gonna affect the individual parties, and that's where we should actually be doing themed debates. Why do they try to cram every single topic into one night? It's like, it's too overwhelming. They could take housing. Listen, we're all virtual. Sure, it's nice to come in person, but virtually we could do 2 weeks of debates. Monday
hybrids,
housing,
do
Tuesday,
hybrids.
yeah. Like, let's get creative, people.
Well, it's interesting. I wonder what had more audience last night, the debate or Leila Fernandez's tennis match.
I would wonder how many people actually knew the Canadian, because that should have been advertised too. Because unless you're following along, you wouldn't really, like, the common Canadian wouldn't know, but would have tuned in if they did, because a lot of times we get really passionate about our Canadian athletes. So I'm curious who actually knew she was that getting that far in the U.S. Open.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, a lot of people. It's become a hot story in Canada.
Okay, that's because I missed it. Yeah,
no, it's a hot story in Canada. Like 18-year-olds from Montreal. Her father is from, I believe, Ecuador.
Okay,
and correct me if I'm wrong. And her mother's from the Philippines.
Oh, okay.
And actually, during the match last night, Steve Nash was sitting in the parents' box.
I love that.
So and by the time we come back on Monday, we'll know if she won or not. The final is, she's in the final now, which is on Saturday night. Yes. And the lady who she's playing against from England was born in Toronto.
Oh, right.
But at 2 years old, her parents moved to England. So we have two.
But she would still be a Canadian citizen.
No, she's a British citizen.
But even if you're born,
she's representing Britain,
right? But since you're born here, you would be you get that citizenship, right?
Yeah. So we have
two Canadian. I win.
Yeah, Canadian bred, and her background is her mother is Chinese, and correct me again if I'm wrong. I think her father is Bulgarian.
Okay, cool.
Quite the culture mix between the two competitors. Families, and Layla's, she just turned 19. Layla Fernandez, and her opponent is 19. So it's really rocking the sports world. The women's final, like, because I've watched a number of her matches, especially the one where she beat Naomi Osaka. That was big. But then now she's defeated about
3 in the top 5, they were saying.
Yeah, 3 of the top. That's really impressive. So it's going to be really big. Well, we are going to go for a break. As you see on the screen, pre-election special live on the Dr. Vibe Show this Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come in, give us your takes. I know I'll be there hosting Louis March. I'm trying to get a few other people to see if they can come in and give their takes. And we got something special planned for the night of the election. I'll just leave it at that. There's something special being planned for the night of the election also. And that may have politicians on it, who knows, but I want as little politicians as possible.
Makes sense.
I just want the people showing up. So before we go too far, we're going to go for our customary break so Ryan can relax, and we'll come back. I know what we're going to talk about next, because Ryan's in control. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what we're going to talk about next. We'll have something, definitely. There's a number of things that are on the plate we can chat about. We'll be back in just a moment. The Morning Vibe live September 10th. Fall is in the air in Toronto, and kids are back to school.
Back. Yes.
All right. We'll be back.
Hi, my name is Ryan Oneil Knight, the founder of Detailing Nights and one of the founding members of ACB Canada. Our vision is to help unite and educate Afrocentric entrepreneurs so they can grow their businesses in a successful and sustainable way. We're helping businesses increase their sales and operations by providing networking, training, and consulting. So as a business owner myself, I found it difficult to find like-minded individuals, especially in my own community, that were doing things on a regular basis to help our businesses grow. ACB Canada is that solution. We've created this community to surround your business with support to help you increase your sales and your profits. With expert workshops and masterminds to help keep you accountable, come and join us and really get to the next level.
We are back. Second half of the Morning Vibe, September 10th. Fall is in the air. Cool nights are back. The humidity is gone for now anyways. I have a feeling we're going to have one more visit of it at least. Here with Ryan Knight. Ryan, what else we going to chat about? What else is going on in the world?
You know, we were talking just before the show started about a gentleman that I had known, and was shot and killed not last night, but the night before. And as we were in the break, and I was thinking, because I was looking at the post that the Toronto Community Benefits put up, and thinking of the election, it's like what you feel powerless when things like this happen. And a lot of times it doesn't hit close to home, but sooner or later it does. And you realize that, where I started asking myself, like, am I on the right path to make actual change? And the gentleman is Samuel Boyke, and he was running a social enterprise called Out the Box, owned his own construction company. Well, he was running Out the Box, and then he left to start his own company. And everything that I think about this man is like inspirational. Every time I talk to him, it was like I felt like I had to do more because he was doing so much for the community and being such a great example. And then you realize, because we work with like youth that are coming out of detention, and he was working with the same population just to give them another shot. And for that to be now cut out of our community, you realize, like, who's in charge of making sure that this stops happening? And whoever's in charge, how do we talk to them about what is actually happening?
I'm going to get back to my 3 again. And what's the first one of the 3?
But that's the biggest one, the trauma.
Why? What was the reason? Again, I don't know. I know of this man. I may have met him once, but what was the event, or what was the meaning, or what was the reason for that person's life to be taken? You know, right. When non-melanated people look at us, someone saying, why do you kill each other?
And that's the question that happens. And there's never a good reason or an acceptable reason. But even still, if that's happening, who is taking up the charge to reduce it? And I'm not seeing that, because, hey, Louis March is still having to do so much work. Marcel Wilson still having to do so much work with One by One. The work that they're doing isn't being, I don't feel, amplified by the powers that be.
No, okay. I'm gonna go there, and just as what Christopher's saying, he was great energy. Yes. Also saying the struggle is real, but it needs to continue. I'm gonna put it out there. It all starts at the home. A lot of it starts at the home. A lot. What I think, I think, I wouldn't say a lot. Certainly, home life has an influence. No matter what age you are, home life has an influence on who you are today. Even remotely, it has an influence, whether good or bad.
When you're in a bad ecosystem, though, home life gets more difficult.
Yeah, sure, it does. But the thing is, home life, we shouldn't expect. I don't think the system should tell us what's right and wrong. Shooting someone is not right.
Agreed.
So are you telling me the ecosystem I'm not talking anything about money, finances. I'm just talking about individual. Do you know what's right or wrong? What caused those individual to shoot this man? Now, again, I don't know about his life, but still, when you get to the point of having to shoot somebody, I think there's something not right there. So I want to go whoever's responsible for this. Again, I want to look at what is their background.
And I feel like that's where my confusion comes in, because whatever their background is, a lot of times we do these band-aid solutions, say, oh, we'll take away guns, and oh, we'll do a program.
Interesting you mentioned that, because for a few days last week, the gun issue became the number one issue of the and I'm going, okay.
And I'm hearing the radio ads too from the gun lobbyists saying like, oh, don't take away guns from law-abiding citizens and what have you. But it's deeper than just the gun being the tool that kills people. It's what trauma is a person going through that their concept of right and wrong is strained to the point that they would do that. What is happening, again, like you said, at the home that is causing a person to feel like they have to either defend or keep themselves like using the gun as that power tool to give them either self-esteem, and I'm totally guessing, give them notoriety in the community. Like, what is happening that makes them feel that's the path that they want to be on?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna refer to one of my mentors, Louis Marsh, who's central to the zero gun violence movement. He says for a lot of young, especially young Black men, it's easier for them to get a gun than it is to get a job.
And so that's where now we're talking about ecosystem. So
that's part of it. Yes, I will agree that's part of it. But again, the ecosystem, again, and everyone handles things differently. To have yourself to the point saying, you know what, I got to kill this person to get satisfaction.
And sometimes it's about defending reputation. Like there's so many different reasons that the person could have felt like, hey, like in their spirit, they had to do it in order to hold on to whatever sense of power that they have, or like to hold on to the self-esteem or their dignity. A lot of times I was listening to Peter Slowly, one of the deputy chiefs.
He's now the chief of police of Ottawa.
Yeah. And he talked about there's like 10 things on the scale of power. And the last thing that you can't take away from a person is dignity. And so when you threaten their dignity, they will fight back with the force that they know. And so now, why is it out of the 10, our ecosystem has taken away 9 of these things? And I wish I remembered the list. I have to actually reach out to him and see if he can send it to me. We've taken away 9 of these things from our Black boys and from our youth. And the last thing that they're left with is dignity. And they feel having a gun, using the gun, keeps that dignity. And so now what our society needs to do is build back those 10 things. If they're solid at home, their dignity goes up and they're secure. And there's so many different elements that our politicians should be talking about, how to build those things so they don't use that type of violence just to save face.
This is inspiring me to get Mr. Marsh on our show.
100%.
I think talk about Black youth or Blacks and gun culture, because he's definitely a person who's on the streets and knows about this. So I'm gonna have to be asking a lot of his time, but I think it needs to be. Or you know what would be really? I just thought about this, to have a virtual summit about Blacks and guns.
Well, and that's where I wouldn't only want it to be about guns, though. It's like that is
Louis Marsh for mayor. He will. I know he's going to gracefully decline. Okay, I'm going to speak to him and say someone wants you to run for mayor.
But he should have a specific position close to those in power to make sure that they're listening to him and actually executing some of these concepts.
It's interesting you say that. Their organization does not accept any government funding.
But that's where they don't have to be funded. But what they're
they need money to do what they do with all their outreach, man. They can't do it for. So they could do it for free.
We need to convince him to start taking that money. Like, I know they might have a policy. Is it that he's not getting the money, or he doesn't take the money?
He doesn't. He doesn't. He is not. We can't. I can't wait to tell him this one.
I don't want to debate him on that.
Geez, should I call Dr. Marsh right now?
Listen, I don't subscribe to that because I've seen the type of work that he does, and it's so needed. And same with I talk with Marcel Wilson from One by One. The work they do is so needed. It's entrenched in the community, and they actually have that respect.
More homework, man. You give me more homework.
That respect will burn people out. It's like there's only so much you can do when you're not resourced. And again, if they don't want to take the money, I would love to figure out a way to get money for them, and then we give them the money. It's like if we can make sure that they're resourced, that
Shelley is
so
saying
important.
political solutions alone are not enough. Family involvement is also key. I will agree with you that
I think that's what Dr. Vibe was saying.
Money. Well, this is another thing. A number of black people have money and they don't behave that great.
Right. Yes.
So I definitely, I think family and community involvement, we have to roll up our sleeves. It's interesting. I was listening to a gentleman yesterday and he said he loves black kids and he loves being a father. But he said, if there is a kid from that I know that I'm talking to him for 5 minutes, for those 5 minutes, I'm his father.
Yes.
That is one of the attitudes we really have to reinstill. Like when I was growing up, I had aunts, uncles, relatives. They weren't blood relatives, but when they spoke to me, they were my parent.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. And what Shelley was saying too about it not just being political and it also having to do with the home. But when you look at the landscape and you realize, okay, home might be troubled a little bit, or the ecosystem that the home is in, like I'm saying, is troubled a little bit, and there's no political support, that to me just creates an environment where nothing can we don't progress at all. So if we could look at our political leaders and see they have done everything possible, everything that we've asked them
I agree with
to
you to a certain extent, but we also got to look at our backyard. Like
I'm separating them for a second. I'm saying, okay, we're looking at the family and those things need to be worked on. And again, I'm not versed in like the social space, but also on the political side, if we're looking at both of them and both of them are flawed, that to me is a problem. At minimum, if we can look at the political side and they're on the right track, then we can say, okay, over here on the political side, they're doing everything possible and there's still something wrong at home. We can now shift our focus purely to home. And I'm talking about myself, like the work that we do can now shift to there. But if both sides are broken, the politicians are literally paid to work on these problems. So if they're not doing their job, we need to call them out and be like, look at what is happening. You guys need to put this as a priority.
Okay, so good question here by Shelley. What are political leaders supposed to do about family issues?
So for like me thinking of what they should do, when Dr. Vibe brings up what is happening at home that is causing not just the trauma, but causing the stress. When we identify those things, we have to take it somewhere to get support. So if you're identifying, let's say it's the jobs issue, like you're saying, it's easier to get a gun than get a job. So in the home now, you have a black male that doesn't have a job, is struggling financially. His children now also, let's say his teenage children also do not have work. We could identify, okay, there's something broken with either how we're educating youth and adults that are in our community to make sure that they're primed and ready to get employment, and that employment is there. That man, that teenage son cannot influence, unless he becomes an entrepreneur, but I'll touch on that later. But he doesn't influence the macro economy. The political powers that be do. Also, provincially, they influence education. So what is broken in our education system that's causing a person to go 18 years and still not find a job? What is broken with our economy that is not producing enough jobs, that there are too many people unemployed? You can't put that on the man at home to fix the economy. Like,
become an entrepreneur.
Unless he starts his own business, and that
okay, so yeah, I hear what you're saying, but then this is a whole other conversation. Is it worth a black person working in the corporate world or in the workplace, right? Like some people say corporate plantation, right?
Hey,
so that's a whole other conversation in itself.
I will say I know I'm unemployable, and the whole Black North movement and all this stuff about anti-Black racism in the workplace, that again, that's like a whole nother conversation, because like, okay, now you got the job, but you're still stressed. So we're talking about getting the job as one element. We could talk about like health, we could talk about food, we could talk about just justice, all these different things all layer on each other, but I'm looking at one. And if we did the audit of the home and we found that if we got more Black men jobs, that would reduce the trauma that their children are feeling, and then they wouldn't feel like their dignity is wrapped up in having a gun and using a gun. That's just one element. So that's where, to answer the question, that element can be supported by our political leaders. What are the different levels of government doing to make sure that that is not a problem in the home? And if they're doing everything that they could possibly do, then we can say, okay, now we have to dig deeper into why this Black man doesn't want to go get a job when there are jobs.
Regardless of the political thing, we got to dig deeper. Regardless.
True. But I'm saying,
regardless,
if nothing is happening at the political side, we also have to hold them accountable. That we cannot let them off the hook just because we are going. So
here's my
with
question:
ourselves.
Who is better qualified to help Black people? Black people or government?
But it depends what the recommendation is. If the recommendation is to increase manufacturing in the country, that is not on the Black man to do alone. That takes political weight. If the recommendation is, brother, you have to spend more time with your children, that is not on Trudeau. That is on the home. If the recommendation is, when you have children, you have to take care of them and marry the mother of your children, like, those are things I would say, okay, that is on the Black man. But if it's something outside of his control, on the family, I'm talking about myself. It's like, these are things that if Ryan as a Black man does, the family ecosystem will be better off and the community will be better off. But there's certain things out of your control. So we have to be able to analyze and say, okay, we're seeing issues, we're seeing trauma, we're seeing this repetition, definitely repetition, and we're only seeing symbolism. What could we recommend that would actually get deeper into the root of what's happening, and how do we progress it forward? And if that thing that we need to do to progress it forward isn't something we can do by ourselves, that's where politics come in, and that's where I would say community comes in.
I think community always has to be there. It doesn't have to come in. It has to be there consistent. Yeah. Consistent. It isn't something that comes in, comes out. No, it's got to be there consistency in high tide and low tide. It has to be there consistently. Has to be there consistently. And I think that we as a people, because I'm not going to use the C word, because you love the C word. I say the N word, and that's not the other N word. I'm saying neighborhood, by the way.
Yes.
Not that N word, not the N word that some people say, why is he going to say that? No, neighborhood. That we need. Here's the question. Is the average Black Canadian better now than they were 16 months ago?
Are we better than we were 50 years ago? But
there you go.
16 months ago, that is a great question. And again, I go back to our gentleman Errol Gibbs that came on the show, because when I talk to him, he talks about the Black Empowerment Manifesto and always wanting to do a report card for the Black community. And that's what Black History Month should be used for. We get together and we analyze, are we making progress? There's no metric that I know to say 18 months ago we were here, and now 18 months later, are we here or here? Where did we? Nobody knows. And so everybody is just winging it. It's like, okay, I'm just going to do my thing. But there's no real way to say, and in business, we do that. Like, that's what our bookkeeping and that's what like financial statements are for, is to track the health of your business to say, hey, either we're on a downtrend or we're on an uptrend. How do we keep it? If we're on a downtrend, how do we reverse course? That to me is not happening in the Black community. So how do we start thinking along those lines and asking that exact question? You ask the question that we all should be asking. Are we better off than we were 18 months ago? And somebody's going to say, I don't know. And we're like, fuck, man, let's figure it out. Like the answer, I don't know, is not good enough anymore. Like we have to get better at analyzing ourselves.
So probably many of the people who are watching this live on replay, probably your parents came here from another country. So here's the baseline question. Is your life you have right now or the one you're projecting to have better than your parents? Mine isn't.
And look at that study that was in the US talking about the education debt gap.
Oh yeah. Right. So Miss Chapman has something really good here. In my line of work, some of the Black youth and adults I have worked with have ended up in the streets and were disconnected from their home. One thing that we don't speak about is how some of the unhealthy ways some of us have been parented and in turn carry on a legacy that leads to trauma and disconnection from the home. Bam. Miss Champion, I'd love you to come on the show and talk about that. Please, you have an open invitation. I would love you. That statement right there, please, if you can, come on the show. Message 100%. Me either via Facebook. I would love you to talk about that because we hear about it and we see television reports on it. It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you are right in the heat of it. It sounds like this is what you do, whether not professionally or personally. We need to get the inside. You know, this is, and Christopher is saying, yes, what is your line of work, Shelley? I agree.
Well, and that's where those that are in this line of work, and I always preface, like, I'm not versed in the social realm. Like, I always come from, hey, entrepreneurship and economics can fix a lot of ailments, but that's only like
it only goes so far.
Yeah, that is one tool. But now what Shelley's talking about, she's seeing the trauma firsthand. She's
been going on for years. Been going on for years.
And that's where, hey, that parenting piece, okay, is it now we're relying on the parents to figure it out on their own? Or where do we get the support for that parent to now help them progress in it? Because I know there was no specific book on parenting I read, so we're just trying to figure it out. But if there's a way to be better,
village,
and then again, the village, they're typically not resourced. So people are doing it on their own time to say, hey, you know, we can help where we can. But if we actually had infrastructure to say, listen, we're observing how you're parenting your child, and we want to take you through.
Christopher saying we did an event in 2017 that engaged 400 plus racialized young men. We are planning to live this again. I'm gonna be straight on that. I love these events, but my question is, what happens after the event's finished?
Very true.
Right? Is there a support system to keep them engaged or have them accessible if they want to continue? Because I don't want the symbolism. And I've been part of some of those events. So hey, color me on this one, hit me on this one. Yeah, I've done events like there's a 1-day thing and all that. But the thing is, after the event is finished, what's next? It's just like when I go to a conference and I get opportunity to speak with the people holding a conference. Hey, this is fantastic. So what happens tomorrow when everyone leaves? What happens? How are you keeping top of mind? 15 minutes after they're done, they're thinking about other things in their life.
Yes.
How are you keeping top of mind with them? Chris was saying, right, this time around, post and wrap around support will be delivered. There you go.
And that's
right?
where
I don't want the symbolism.
When you ask the question and pose it to people that are putting together these events, that's what gets us to start thinking, yeah, what does beyond this event look like? How do we create something that's a year, 2 year, lifelong ripple effect? But when you don't ask the question, and that's why I love doing the show with you, when you don't ask the question, people typically...
You mean I'm doing your show with you? Is it my... No, okay, all right.
The question has to be asked, and we have to analyze ourselves. We're very good at gossiping about others. We need to gossip internally. We're very good at blaming the white man about anti-Black racism and all this. We have to bring that analysis internal to say, where are we at? What have we been doing? And how effective has it been? That event, I remember being at that event. It was amazing. Again, did we analyze the ripple effect going forward? Did we even build that in and design it into the event? And so seeing Christopher say like, yeah, going forward, that is something that we're going to include, but we have to be able to talk to each other and give that constructive criticism to say, hey, let's see what we did and let's do better.
So Shelly's saying, I will consider doing that, Dr. Vibe. It is a necessary conversation and an unpopular opinion. But you know, I like that. I like unpopular opinions because a lot of times
complexity.
Right, but the role of family dynamics cannot... Exactly. I am a social worker and am intimately involved in exploring histories of Black people involved in the criminal justice system. Fully agree. And I do a lot of work. I don't call it work. I don't call it hard work. I call it heart work. I do a lot of heart work with Black men and men of all different backgrounds, but especially Black men of different ages and backgrounds. And it is so much a needed conversation. So, Shelly, I have sent my email address in the Facebook timeline. So I look forward to hearing from you in regards to that, because I'd love to have you on, because we need people like you, the faces that are doing the hard work that don't get the coverage, because we always see a lot of the same people over and over and over again. And that's one of the reasons I did this from day one. I want to get other people's stories, not the ones you see all the time. There are other people that are doing the hard work, not the hard work, but the hard work that needs to be showcased and give the real story, not the clips, not this. And another thing too, we have to realize that not all skin folk are kinfolk. We have, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll get it in a minute, but we have those among us that look like us that are not for us. Right? We have white supremacists that look like us.
And I would love to ask Shelly if she feels that she's fully resourced, because
not need for community support from Christopher saying
that he took the word right out of my mouth. It's like, yes, all this hard work is being done, but a lot of times it's being done like in kind. It's not fully resourced, or you're doing it with tools that if you had additional resources, you'd be able to do the work better.
This is the thing too, and what we're one of the things that, you know, from you and I in the areas that we travel, what is one of the big words that starts with C that we've heard a lot over the last year and a half? Collaboration.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if you want to get bigger, either you're going to do it yourself, you're going to buy it, or the easiest way is to collaborate. To make your goal, dream, and desire bigger, the collaborate. Just want to hail up Dr. Tachi, who is a great individual, hosts Media Scope, which is the best of media, tech, and pop culture, which is on most Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Instagram Live, and then 6 p.m. on the Wednesday Eastern time. She's on WJMS Radio, Facebook Live. Let me get her, YouTube Live. WJMS Radio out of New York. There's a gospel station, I believe, out of the Bahamas, and LinkedIn Live. So she is an incredible person. If you want to know about media and communications, she's a lady. Please follow her. And plus, she and my dad are graduates of the same school, Howard University.
Oh, in the States. Oh, nice.
So she has actually, if I get it right, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Tachi, she has her PhD in communications from Howard University. So if you want someone to do a great lecture on communications, there she go. And if you want to get in contact with her, please reach out to me. She is an absolute great, not only great educational wise, but great from the heart. So if you ever want someone to do a great presentation on communications and the impact, media, tech, or pop culture, there she is.
Solid.
Right?
That's great.
So Shelly saying, definitely I'll reach out, Dr. Vibe. Christopher says, facts with taxes. I like that. Facts with taxes.
Yes, hashtag
I like
that and
that.
send it to Louis March. He doesn't want to take government money, but it's his own money that he's pushing back.
Oh, I can't wait till he comes on and I'm just gonna duck. And I'm gonna the sparring partners. You know, like I almost feel like calling him right now saying, you know what Ryan's saying about you, Louis? He says you should take government money. Oh, so folks, when he comes on, make sure you got to promote that. I'm gonna just put a meme with boxing gloves. Put them have boxing gloves with all of them. So, oh Lord, so we are done. As you see, when a week goes by, enough to chat about, and there's things we didn't get to talk about. But again, what is up for your weekend, Mr. Knight?
Yeah, what is up this weekend? So we're doing the infield training with the Detailing Knights crew. Looking forward to that. Always love to show them how the waterless car cleaning works. And we're going to be letting more people in Brampton know that we exist. We're going to show him and introduce him to some of the people that he lives around, because they get to operate a zone around their house. So getting to talk to neighbors. That'll be fun.
Wonderful. Good stuff.
I feel like Sunday is clear as it should be.
Well, it should be clear because you've been on a good roll lately. Sunday, especially with kids. We even get to chat it back to school. Oh my gosh.
Oh dear.
So hope if we remember in our alleged minds on Monday, we'll talk about how back to school has been so far. So good stuff. Now a show alert. Tuesday night, Dr. Vibe Show pre-election special live on Tuesday, September 20th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So I will be joined by Louis March. And if and that's for Canadian election, by the way. People go, well, what country are we talking about? Canadian election, all right? And I know if some other people want to join in on the conversation live, you know how to get a hold of me. You can get a hold of me through whatever platform, Facebook. There's also YouTube, and also my email address, dr.vibe@the.dr.vibe.show. And come on in, join the conversation, put your face up live and see what you have to say.
I love
about it. So so we are done as always. Oh, actually, I want to read something. It is a very important, it's a very applicable for this day, because in the social media world we have different days like World Health Day, so I want to read something of very much importance, and it has a little bit to do indirectly about trauma. So today, this is called You Can't Go Out Like This. Today on Suicide Prevention Day, we remind you that things don't only get worse, they can get better too. You can make them better. There will be, no matter what happens, opportunities to make a difference, to be your best self, to laugh, to grow, to look back on those darker moments and think, quote, I'm glad I didn't listen. I'm glad I stuck around, unquote. The vast majority of people whose suicide attempts fail come to feel that they were blessed to survive. They are glad they were saved. Certainly the people who care about them feel this way too. Many come to realize that they stuck around for a reason. They were better for it, and the world was better to have them in it. Besides, who is ever to say that they know what the future holds with such certainty that they can make such an irrevocable decision? Life is hard, but you should stick around for it. And remember, asking for help isn't giving up. It's refusing to give up. So I just wanted to read that today on World Suicide Day. Unfortunately, I know some people that have gone that route, and I'm still missing them. I'll just leave it at that.
Absolutely. As
always, I'd like to say, and one other thing about that in regards to suicide, people may not realize this, but in North America, 80% of the suicides that are committed by people over 40 are by men.
Whoa.
And 80% of the suicides committed by teenagers are by teenage boys. And I know in the Black environment, I know that's even more true. I'm sure that that's even more true. Whether it's suicide by gun, suicide by overdose on drugs. We had that gentleman who was an actor from The Wire, drug overdose.
Ouch. Yeah, I didn't hear how he passed.
Yeah, they're saying it was a drug overdose. So yeah, suicide is not just by gun or knife. You can OD on drugs, like taken.
Right.
So I just wanted to read that today on World Suicide Day. So as always, we like to close off. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. Have a fantastic weekend. We will be back around 9 a.m. Eastern time on Tuesday morning. And I am going to work to see if I can buy my XXL referee jersey when Louis Marsh comes on with Ryan Knight. So there's going to be battle, going to be war. So I'm going to see if I can get a referee shirt for that event. If not, send me some funds and do a GoFundMe for Dr. Vibe's referee shirt for Ryan and Louis March. Take care, everybody. Be well.